previous unit, we looked at several videos on working with conditional structures, an if structure, an if-else structure, and an if-else structure. In all three structures, we used a diamond shape in planning our algorithm to represent two different paths that we can go down. And the paths were all based on some Boolean expression equating to either true or false. In this unit, we want to look at another type of structure called a repetitional structure, or often referred to as a loop. And we're going to flowchart our repetitional structures in much the same way, using a diamond shape to represent some condition, and when that condition is true, we'll have a process that we repeat over and over again. The difference here, though, in the flowchart is rather than that process flowing back down and joining the false fork, it loops back up and goes through that condition until that condition is no longer true. There are two types of repetitional structures. One is called a fixed iterative loop. In C#, we refer to that often as a for loop. And we use the keyword for, and then in parentheses we have some variable which equals an initial value, and then a condition that is tested, and the loop will continue until that condition is no longer true. And then we have to either increment or decrement that counter, and that's the I++. So I is my counter variable here. I'm starting at 0 and going in as long as I is less than or equal to 10. When the loop is finished, it will continue with the statement after our closing curly bracket. The second type of repetitional structure is a conditional loop. And in C# we often refer to that as a while loop. Again, we're using the key statement while. And here we're actually using a Boolean expression. And as long as that expression is true, the contents inside that loop repeat each time. But we have to remember to have a statement that modifies that condition at some point, or we end up with an endless loop that never exits. We'll explore each of these repetition structures in more detail in the next few videos. There's a variation on the while loop, and that's called a do while loop. And the difference here is our true process happens before the condition is tested. And we can use this to make sure the process executes at least once, whether the condition is ever true or not. The loop is written with the word do, and then in our square brackets we want to have repeat. And then the condition occurs after that closing curly bracket with our Boolean expression. And note that here there is a semicolon at the end of this structure. There's not on the other structures. The curly bracket indicates that that is the end of the structure in the other cases. There's also a variation of the fixed iterative loop, and that is a for each loop. And those come into play when we're working with collections like arrays or lists. And we'll look at those much later in the semester. For now, we will focus on the for, the while, and the do while.